So look, I have been so excited. I'm always excited to talk to you. I literally am always excited to talk to you. And that probably is that you're just so real. And so, I don't ever feel like you're putting on airs. You're just real. I don't even know a better way to say that. So, Margot, would you be willing to share with the world who you are in your own words? What do you want them to know about you?
First of all, I love you. I think our connection was immediate from
Instant,
when we
yes.
first met years ago. And when anytime we have to do a bio, it's just like, oh Lord, here we go. I'm super grateful, for this conversation. And I definitely want to be intentional because again, especially with everything that's going on right now, right? Like with the
Yes.
social distancing, we're talking not just businesses are affected, but corporate, right? All these different things that are going on. And so, when you invited me to the conversation, I was like, heck yeah, like let's talk. Let's what do I need to do? Let me know. And so absolutely for those of you who are tuning in, hi, welcome. And I definitely pray that you are doing well in this time. I am Margot Blair. I'm a partnership strategist, a university adjunct professor. And my specialization is really focusing on helping event curators, nonprofit leaders, other individuals establish partnership strategies so they can go from being self-funded to securing corporate partnerships for their events. So my background is all things personal development, professional development, and finding ways to really just leverage our innate gifts in order for us to be able to make our imprints in the world in diverse ways.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that is me.
Yay. And so I wish we had been having this conversation. Let's back up maybe like 4 years ago
Right.
when I had my first event. And it was this huge honking event that number one, I thought I had to have. You know what I mean? I thought I had to do the 3-day and multiple speakers and had it at a hotel and all on my dime, if you will. We had some sponsorships, but not nearly the way you're showing people how to find money and to have people to really sign on as partners for those larger events. So first, before we go any further, I want to know, what was it that kind of had you make that pivot? Because I think it's brilliant. I think it's right up your lane. Having been, thank God, I was privileged to be a speaker at your event, to participate. So I saw it in action. This is not, you know what I mean? This isn't some intellectual conversation we're having that you've not tested. I've seen it in action and I've seen how you've done things. So what made you want to kind of move into this space?
So the reality of it is I took an L, like a really big,
I probably took a bigger L than you did.
let's just rip it off. Like no sugar, it's no fanciful story. So one day, no, I took a fat loss, and it almost broke me. I was scared. Like we had our conversation. So yeah. It broke me to a point where like I lost trust in the people that I brought on as a team. But I couldn't even blame the people because I assigned the tasks to those people, right? Like, so it was a conversation between task delegation and just poor management. As the founder, it came back on me. It didn't matter what role I assigned to another person that failed. So let me put that pin there for anybody who can resonate with that. But Band-Aid off. Second conference, we were scheduled to have our first conference or first event, first women's owned organization put into the Phoenix Convention Center. So I was like super excited. No organization in Phoenix has put a women's conference at the convention center yet at that time frame. So I was super excited, right? We lost $40,000.
Oh, you and me both. That's why we're so connected. That's to the dollar what I lost.
$40,000 in
I got you. Yes. Wow.
And it was two separate sponsors, two separate $20,000 sponsorship. One was for the lack of a contract. Dear God, get them contracts created. Yes. Have somebody look over it, somebody professional, aka a lawyer, and get those signed. So one was due to a contract, and the other it just, again, it went back to delegation. I was out of the country at a training in Dubai at the time in 2018, and I had assigned that task to somebody else, and something took priority for that individual, and they didn't send it. And it wasn't something that could be scheduled. It was, you got to be on the phone and you have to hit send while I'm on the other line. So there was no way for me to do it while being in the other country. And I get back to New York and got a call like, hey, we never got we never got anything. We can't sponsor you anymore. And I'm like,
Yikes.
tell me again. And so it was essentially the ripple effect from there. Once we lost that one sponsor, we could no longer afford the convention center. Once we could no longer afford the convention center, we thought it was just going to be cool to pivot to a new venue. Went to the new venue, notified all the sponsors and everybody else like, hey, it's updated. And the second sponsor came out. We signed on to sponsor at the Phoenix Convention Center.
Oh man.
So yeah, we're out. I was like,
yikes.
What do you mean? So yeah, it was definitely a big, like I said, a big L. But it was all lessons in that time frame, and that was in 2018. So it wasn't too long ago. But the beautiful side of this is we ended up recouping around $32,000.
Oh, that's awesome.
For that, so even though we lost it, right, we were able to strategically come together and say, okay, what can we do? And it was with somebody who believed in my vision, who sold into me. And now I took all of those same lessons, applied that for 2019, and blew that out the water with 5 figures. Yeah. So.
Oh my God, that is so fantastic. So I remember, I'm trying to think there was a conflict, so I wasn't able to participate in the 2018 event. I just remember seeing it online and then seeing you talk about it. And I was just like, oh no, oh my God. I think I had a soft spot for it because I had just gone through it the year prior.
Yep.
So I mean, similar, we had this big venue, didn't know what we didn't know basically, and then had everything fall apart at the last minute.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned that. It was literally 2 weeks before 2 weeks, or because the conference was on the 15th of April, and I got back on the 14th of March. So 2 to 3 weeks time for yeah.
Oh yeah. So I was feeling you. You know what I mean? From a distance, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I knew exactly how that felt, but you were able to recoup. You were able to rebound, and this last event was fantastic. You had amazing sponsors. You had phenomenal support. I remember just the feeling in the room. So tell me, what is it that I'm this person, I want to do this event again. I want to have the right type of people helping to support, helping to benefit from being a part of my event. What do I need to do? How do I engage with you?
Absolutely. I honestly break it down in 4 specific steps. And I do this for anybody looking for partnerships. Because again, it comes down to a few areas, but it's number 1, are you qualified? Are you in position to partner? What are you bringing to the table? What expectations do you have for the relationship? And then how are you going to retain the partnership? So that's the easiest way to explain that. Right. But the reality of it is that first step, you have to evaluate your own partner potential, because again, if you aren't in position to partner with someone, ain't nobody gonna give you no money.
Nobody.
Like that, that's just what it comes down to. And so that's the first step. So I would love to like we could flesh that conversation out. What does that even look like? To determine, like, are you in position to partner? And so that's that first step. That first phase is evaluating your partner potential.
Do you think that people are looking at all of the things that, when we talk about just being in business, we got our website, sometimes we have our offerings and experience and all that. What types of things would I put together to present to a potential partner to let them know, hey, I'm ready, I'm qualified, I've done these things successfully before? What are some of those things that I would need to have?
That's the second piece, is leveraging your professional assets is what I call it. It's looking at your knowledge, your experience, as well as the people that you know, or the people that you need to know. When you're presenting it to a prospect, right? When I'm presenting it to I'll make it real personal. When I'm presenting it to them, I'll sit there and have a candid conversation and lay out the vision, right? So you need to be clear on what your vision is.
Okay, let's stop right there. Clarity on the vision. Take notes, please, people. Take notes. That's important. Okay, keep going.
Yep. So you have to be very, very clear on what the vision is that you want for your own experience, and then providing the evidence of what you've done before. If I'm giving up my money, if I'm investing my money into that, because that's what it is. It's an investment, right? If I'm investing into your vision, I may not even be asking for an ROI, but what are going to be the measurable or the quantifiable results once I'm giving you the money, whether it's in kind or the monetary value of that. So you have to be clear on articulating that as well. And then the other piece of this is really looking at setting clear expectations. So for me, as you saw, at our experience, I don't just want your money. I want you there. I want you involved. Honestly, every step of the way. And so for us, for me, the one of the main things is getting them involved in some capacity. And again, clearly articulating that is, yes, your dollar is very well needed and wanted, but I want you to be able to see the impact that your dollar or your sponsor, your partnership is really leaving on the people that we're serving.
Oh my God, that is so good. So someone is clear on their vision, they're able to articulate the expectations. How do they get the person to say yes? How do they get the check written? What role do you play in helping to facilitate that? Do you just train people in that, or do you actually play a role in making sure that that takes place?
So it's twofold. And part of the reason why is, number one, understanding the value, right? Like you got to understand your value. And so I do represent other individuals, organizations, as what we call their partnership strategists. And so I come on board and I take 13 clients a year. And with those 13 individuals, I focus solely on their events, whether it's a quarterly basis, biannual, or annual term. And that is what I do. When I go and reach out to, whether it's my contacts or their prospects, there's research, that a ton of things that I end up doing on behalf of their organization to really identify the proper prospects that would be willing to partner with them, right? So for example, a women's professional development conference, we're not going to be hitting up Babies R Us.
Right.
There's no, right, well, Babies R Us is out now, but nonetheless, we're going to be making sure that we are focusing on what the mission is with the prospect we're looking to acquire or obtain. And so it's really going back through a process of what does that look like? How do our missions align? So that's really the work that I do for myself on behalf of this organization. The other side of it is for an individual who may have this role, right? The role that I would be doing, but they're only getting smaller gifts, or they're only able to have a grant writer to acquire smaller funds, whether it's a $500 to a $2,000, something less than $10,000, essentially what the conversation we're having, right? And so what it is it's an opportunity to learn what I do step by step, the 4 phases of what we call the EPA strategy, the event partnership strategy process. And they end up going through the program, and we connect and touch base once a month, and we're really breaking it down. But the beautiful thing with that opportunity is it's not a one-to-one setting where I'm doing it for them. They get the training that they do on their own, and then they get to connect with their entire group of other people who are participating in the same program, and they get to connect with the people that I'm doing it for. Awesome. And so it's a twofold. So yeah, we wanted to make sure to say, okay, hey, this is an opportunity where I can come and do it, but if you want to learn it, here's this platform as well.
I love that. So as you know, one of the things that we specialize in is networking and teaching people how to network more effectively. And some of the events that we have, they might be 20, 30 people. They might be on a much smaller scale. And one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with you, obviously, besides just getting to hang out with you because it's so fun,
Right.
was also finding out when some of the smaller organizations are trying to do like monthly or quarterly events that aren't quite on that level, where they're not looking for 6-figure or 5-figure type
Absolutely.
of sponsorships, but they do want to do things at a higher level of professionalism. Want to have people.
Absolutely.
How would you, and is it even something that you'd be able to do, is to help people to understand how to develop those types of partnerships on a little bit of a smaller scale?
So it's a beautiful question because I did it on accident for myself. That's when I realized that the need to incorporate that piece as well, because it's not just for these larger conferences, right? Because it's a really big point. And it's not to an extreme of creating your own operating budget. But I have that conversation because that's actually a requirement for any of my anybody I bring on as a client. If you do not have your operating budget, we cannot work together because there's foundational elements that are going to be missing. Okay. And so with this conversation, it's breaking it down to identify if you're going to be doing a monthly or a quarterly experience,
Mhm.
you still would like the partner.
Right.
So what is, again, whether it's 30 people or 300 people,
Mhm.
what is the impact? What's the mission? What's the vision? And how are you going to create that lasting impact? And so for my experience, it started out with, I shared the vision, and that's coming in organically has been the win every single time. This is who I am. This is where we've been. This is where we're going. Do you want to be a part of it? Because this is your mission too. And here's where we align. And specifically, we what we were doing at the time is it was a personal development experience, and we wanted to host it weekly on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And we didn't have a venue, and one of our longtime partners was the Phoenix Burton Bar Library.
Mhm.
But the particular amount of space that we needed, we were going to have to pay for it.
Wow.
And if we weren't going to be able to charge for it to use the particular space we needed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm not hosting a weekly event, not getting paid. I'm sorry, like I can't do it, right? And so we just just started putting out this call, spoke at an engagement, and I was randomly having a conversation with her. I said, hey, I have this ask, and can we sit down and have a conversation? Have the conversation. I said, we would love to use your facilities for this experience, and this is what we can do on the other side of it. And your girls and their parents can. It was a charter school, and I said, your girls and their parents can come, complimentary if you allow us to use our space. They not only granted us the access to the space on both days, um, we had access to printing. We had access to tons of other things that they had. And again, it was a charter school. Um, we facilitated that experience for 42 consecutive weeks,
Wow.
free
Wow.
of charge.
Yeah. You know,
Right.
how often do people just miss the opportunity to ask? Because having done events and having had that big L like you,
Yep.
there's nothing else that I've learned is to ask. I'm amazed at how many people will say yes when you just ask the
Yeah,
question and make it valuable for them. And,
for
make
sure.
it
The mutual benefit exchange,
beneficial,
always.
right?
Yeah.
But how frequently do you see where people are just missing the opportunity to ask?
Yes. And I was just talking to a client earlier, actually right before us, and the conversation was, I want to, I might want to go and ask these people this question, but I don't know what I would give them. Ask them what they need. Find out what they need. Do your own due diligence prior to. And that's one of the things. Me. I am a professional stalker, and
Yeah.
I will go and do my work.
Mhm.
Um, and bring that to the table. And so, whether it's, so I know your mission and this is where we align, and make it clear on this is how we can both win. But it's even deeper than that. If there's some information that you can acquire via social media or LinkedIn or whatever, website platform, it's going and connecting with those people and touching and touching and agreeing and saying, you know, what are you all looking for? Like, I can see this, but I don't see your goals. Like, what are your goals? What are you actually working toward as an organization, as an individual, as a business? And then saying, oh, okay, well, this is what I do, right? And being able to provide that value. And it all comes down to being able to find ways to bridge the gap.
I think it's so interesting how it's just as easy as picking up the phone and asking.
Yes.
One of the things that we teach is for people to follow up effectively, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the way you interacted in an event that we both participated in recently. But one of the things I teach is for people to do something as simple as sending a handwritten card after they've had this connection. And the one pushback I get all the time is, well, they don't have their address on their website. And I'm going, seriously? I'm like, due diligence, look it up, figure it out. And if all else fails, pick up the phone and say, hey, I'd love to send you something. Can I have your address? No one's going to say no to that. No one. Everybody's, oh, you want to send me something? Yes, I'll take that. So it's just
a gift.
It's doing the work. So you and I participated in this event, maybe a month and a half ago now. Maybe a month, I don't know. But one of the things you did really, really, really well, to the point of winning a gift for being so good at it, was your connectivity within the group. Reaching out to people in advance, scheduling time to meet people one-to-one. From my perspective, I was literally like giddy watching you. I was like, yes, she does it so amazingly. It's so awesome. What is it that you would say, I'll just say from a networking perspective, why was that important to you, and how do you use networking kind of to build your own community and to build your business?
So 2 reasons. The funny reason is I went to an event, they used the same platform, and some people blew me out of the water. Like, there was no chance to winning. Okay. And it honestly was like, I don't know if you actually saw the final score. I definitely went a little bit overboard, but it was the ultimate reason why I wanted to make sure I was being intentional with what I posted. It wasn't just like, let me just put this here just so I can win. I was very strategic about what I posted. Yeah. And so when I went, again, having that experience, and there was no way to even get into the competition, I was like, oh man, if I have it next time, if I get a chance again in this particular platform, it was a gamified system. I said, I'm gonna take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. And so when this particular organization Take the Lead, when they created that at Space, I said,
oh yes,
I'm winning. Like I already said it, before it was, and so the why, when I started looking at it, is I knew this was going to. I made a commitment to myself probably a year and a half ago, and I said, I'm not going to be the smartest person in the room anymore. And I knew this was going to be one of those rooms, whether it was going to be intellect, whether it was going to be experience, whatever it was. I knew I was not going to be the smartest person in the room, but I also knew I was bringing something to the table.
Right.
And so for that particular reason, I just started, okay, who are the speakers? Who are the other facilitators? Who are the sponsors? Mm-hmm. And I made it a point to go in and make sure that I was going to be able to have those intentional conversations when I showed up in the room. So it wasn't going to be the Margos show. Because that's not what it should be about when you go into a room, right. Even if you are the keynote speaker, the only speaker, a panelist, what have you, it should not be your show.
Yes.
Right. You're representing another organization. You have just been invited to share your gifts, your expertise, and your intellect. Right. And so knowing that, I said, okay, this is what I need to do prior. And that's exactly what I did. And hubby and I, we now have a staycation for a baby moon, so.
I love that. I mean, it was so great that for those of you all who can't tell, because she's seated, there is a on board. And so I remember the pre-event session that we had. I know you weren't able to make it, rightfully so. You know what I mean? You're getting close. We want you to take care of yourself. But I'll never forget, a woman was like, have you seen Margo? Is she here? And I was just like, that's what it's supposed to be. People are looking for you, And and for those of y'all who will listen to this later, listen to the lessons. I wanted to hear about your business and how you're able to help people, but I love watching how you are able to build connections and allow that to really help to elevate your business. And the thing that I found really interesting, and I think if people pay attention, is that if you're intentional, which is my word, right? It's an important word. If we're intentional, not only will you stand out, people will remember you, people will be seeking you out, and it'll make it so much easier. We make it hard because we go into rooms thinking, who can I go find? How can I go sell my stuff? Whereas if you're more intentional, you will be like that woman, you know what I mean? You'll have people searching you out when you're not even in the room yet, you know? And so that makes all the difference in the world. I really, God, okay, we're gonna have to do part 2 to this because
I know, we said 20.
The time goes super, super fast. And I intentionally spent a little more time hearing about, you know, how you're building this, what I think phenomenal, very unique, you know, business that you've now created. I think it's so important. But I do want to ask you this. If you could sum up your journey in one word, and I don't ask these in advance because I don't want you to think about it. I just want it to be organic. I want to be real. If you can sum up your journey in one word, what would that word be, Margot?
One word. Transformational.
Can't stop there. Do tell.
I was looking to say, can I please explain? Again, we've known each other for years, right? And personally, we can talk about what that journey looks like. But professionally, I've seen myself evolve in ways that I wouldn't even have been able to articulate. Back in 2013, if you would have said this is like we would be having this particular conversation. No, because again, the journey started out as a life coach for young girls who were facing adversity, defined by their situations and circumstances. And now I get to journey alongside powerful agents of change who are making national, local, global impact in the lives of the people that they are called by God to lead. I get to journey with them to package their experiences. And so for me, when I say transformational, it's not just the things that I've learned and gone through and failed and mastered and died. No, it's the lives that God allows me to pour into and be a part of and see and grow with along their journeys and my journey as well. So transformative.
That is so fantastic.
Transformative.
Well, I just want to say I see that in you. I see that gift in you. I've been so privileged to, you know, and it has been a long time, but it's yet been a short time. And I feel like in the time that I've known you, I've just watched you blossom. And I'm continuing to see those next phases unfold. And I'm excited to be, you know, a small part of that and to be able to stay connected and to see it in real life. And I want our listeners to know that this is a resource that you need in your life, even if, you know, you're not looking for the, you know, the event piece or looking to build those types of connections. You need Margot in your life because she's just that kind of person. And I know, and we've had this before where I'm like, okay, who do I know who knows this or needs that? I know who to call. So if you'd be willing to share with our audience how they can reach you, they probably want to leave you alone for the next like month in a minute. I'm assuming you'll be on some type of maternity sabbatical, but when the time is right and they have need for the services you provide or the resources that you're so liberally willing to give, how can they reach you?
Absolutely. So due date's May 18th. So you have a little bit of time.
A little time. Okay.
And absolutely, we're still trying to figure out what everything's going to look like once baby Blair arrives. But across all platforms, Margot Blair, and the website is just the same, MargotBlair across all platforms. And for anybody who's listening to this who is an event curator, you can definitely go straight to that site, and there are free gifts for you. It's a little guide where you get to do an evaluation, determine your partner potential, and right now, especially right now, again, we started off the conversation, so we can end with that conversation too, with what's going on right now. We have to be being proactive.
Yeah.
So even though we don't know, we can't necessarily anticipate whether we're going to be able to go back to live experiences, but whether it's a live experience or it's going to be virtual for the remainder of what we know to be existence, right? Partnership is a thing. It's going to be a thing, and we need to be willing to exchange our resources, our knowledge, and find ways to do that effectively. So there's a resource for you as well. So anything that you need, let's connect and build and figure out how we can grow to continue making impact.
Very good. I'll make sure we put that link here so that people can find you easily. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you.